Hello there, and welcome to a Hot Hardware live stream. I'm Chris Getting, and online with me, I've got Dave Altavilla. Say hello.
Hey there, folks. Hi, Chris. Looking good, man.
Yep. Ooh, I need to mute something. Okay. So today we're going to be building a media PC, completely fanless, so should not run nice and silent the way we like it. We're going to be using the Streacom DB4 fanless case, which I've got it boxed here, but it's basically going to be a big hunk of, I think, aluminum, and should be nicely passively cooled. It's got a fanless power supply with it, the Z240. So 240 watt power supply keeps the power envelope nice and low, so we can keep it cool. And to go with this, we're going to be throwing in a Kaby Lake Core i3-7350K processor, so that is unlocked, so we'll see if we do have any overclocking headroom with this, but if not, it's still a great media-oriented processor, dual-core, hyper-threaded, of course. We've got a Toshiba RD400 512 gigabyte solid-state drive, so we can store some media on it, and we'll also be looking to use it with the blanking on the name of the NAS we have right here. Brittany just reviewed it.
With the what? The motherboard or the
network storage.
Oh, the network storage. The Synology NAS station.
Yep, Synology disk station. So we'll be piping media across that as well. We're going to back this with Gigabyte's Z270 N Gaming 5 motherboard. So again, this is going to be unlocked, so we can try overclocking with it. Not sure how much thermal headroom we'll have, but always fun to see how we can push things to their limit. And it occurred to me moments before the stream, I hadn't had RAM set aside, so I am stealing some EVGA DDR4 2800 megahertz RAM from my test bench. And that should do us for today. We'll see if we can get it subbed out to something else as we do our full review, which will be available in a few weeks. So I think with that, I'll start with unboxing what I've got from Streacom here. So up top, this will be our power supply. Not the prettiest boxing, but it does the business. So some mounting screws, it looks like, and the rest is there. And this is quite a small unit, much smaller than your usual ATX power supply.
That's a Streacom unit, okay.
Yep, it's Streacom Zero Flex 240 watt. And so it's got, of course, all the connectors we should need. Power in. Not much else to say at the moment, other than, of course, it is completely fanless. Then in our next one, I believe this is... Oh,
I don't mean to give you hoops to jump through, but just trivia question. Is there a way you can zoom out a little bit on your work area?
Up here?
Yeah. Might assist in seeing the environment a little bit more. It's up to you.
Yeah, I don't think quite at the moment. This box will be going out of the way in a minute, so we should be all right.
All right, cool.
I'll try to do everything through the face scan for now. So this is the cooling bracket, which, and through the face cam there. So, looks like it's just a basic connector. There's some thermal paste in here, and see if I can get this out. Below, so there's kind of a multi-piece cooling block.
So that's the CPU cooler integrates to the case?
Yeah.
Cool.
So that should, it's going to pipe the heat out, or should pipe the heat out directly to the outside of the chassis. So you're effectively using the whole unit here to dissipate heat.
Nice. Aluminum chassis.
Yes.
Connected to heat pipes off that plate.
I believe is CNC milled, just like the test bench I have. the BC1, which you can see just a hair bit of here, which I have a full review of that up on the site.
Yeah, folks, stop by HotHardware.com if you want to check out a good amount of reviews of lots of different things in computing and tech. We do have the Streacom BC1 open air test bench review Chris did up there, and this is another unit from Streacom. This is a media PC, silent fanless chassis from the Stream. Run on Streacom. What's got all about? If I can ask, while you're, you're in the middle of gymnastics.
So, keep it so you can see my face. So up top we've got just a instruction booklet. I think like last time we may be ignoring that, but this should be more interesting, so maybe not. Just a bit of foam protection covering up our parts here.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
Tell us quick about the guys about Streacom and what this product, the company the product came from.
Okay. So Streacom basically builds chassis, all custom, and in my opinion, quite high end. I know I've got chat view somewhere. Oh, hey Blackhawk. So
yeah, I'm watching the chat, folks. If you have questions.
So I got reverb again. Okay. Oh, I think it's coming from your speakers now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
All right. I will solve that problem.
So we'll bring these parts out. Looks like there's some nice copper heat pipes in there. And oh, nice. So the sides of the box come apart very easily for us. Up, over, and down.
All right. My audio is now on headphones. You should have no more reverb, but Chris, I think we lost your stream. I got a spinny pinwheel. Maybe it's me.
I can see me in the video preview.
Weird. Let me refresh the Twitch page because I'm getting black.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that must have been a Twitch glitch.
Okay, so we are still here, as far as I know. All right, so now we've got the chassis here, and maybe I'll bring this up just a hair so you can see.
Folks, if you're just tuning in, this is Chris Getting from HotHardware.com. I'm Dave Altavilla here. We are going through a fanless media PC build using the Streacom DB4 fanless media PC chassis. Go figure. And as you can see here, this is a big block of aluminum that is integrated into the cooling assembly on the processor, so the whole chassis acts as a heatsink. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, so you can see it's kind of finned on the outside, increasing their surface area as much as possible so we can dissipate all the heat. The bottom side kind of has integrated foot stands. Nice rubberized bottom, so it shouldn't skid around anywhere. We have some USB 3 ports. We can get the focus to lock. And USB 3 header, of course. And so let's see what it takes to get inside of here. I'm seeing some hexes at the top, and it looks like they have a provided hex wrench. So I think that seems a logical place to begin our journey.
Cool. So there's little feet on the bottom there that keep it up off the surface it's on, a couple inches.
Yeah, I'd say it's about a 2-inch or so riser.
Yeah.
So enough room for cables and, of course, a little extra ambient airflow. Not that you're going to have much drawn through. But keeping space around just helps with passive cooling.
Yeah.
So 4 of these.
You need an Allen wrench, drill bit, and a power drill.
Right.
But that's all right. We do it the manly way here.
I do have hex bits for my drill, but I don't think they quite go this small. So let's set that right over here. And this whole workstation is grounded, by the way. No panicking. Okay, so now I'm a little perplexed because this is definitely a heat pipe for the processor. So I'm not entirely sure what the other box is. Maybe it's more parts for it.
That's interesting.
Maybe looking more at the instructions for this than we planned. All fun.
When all else fails.
All right, so there's another
RTFM.
plate. Another plate here. Yeah, I think we're gonna have some manual adventures here, and just some cables. So the rest of that's pretty down and empty. Do these slide up? Okay, bolted in. Looks like just inside here there's some bolts, and those do hold the sides. Let's try this side.
Shout out to our good friends at Gigabyte and Toshiba for the components here. EVGA as well for the RAM. 512 gig Toshiba RD400 SSD, NVMe SSD. That baby's going to break 2 gigs a second bandwidth, which is nice. And then the Gigabyte Z270N Gaming 5 motherboard is the foundation of this media PC.
Yep. So if you can see right here, there's little slots that these pegs just kind of sit and slide in. So that's how this is assembling, and it kind of slots in and drops down a little bit. And they're a little dependent on each other. These are nice and very solid.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are not messing around with this. Another plate, so we'll get all 4 of these off, hopefully.
Huh. There's a big chunk of aluminum. Is it heavy?
It's not overly, but it's definitely dense. So I think it's not as heavy as it may look because the inside is obviously empty. But it is certainly substantial. Okay, those. This is a lot more to this than the test bench, but yeah, I'd say that's the same aluminum construction, so should not be any concern. And so down here we can see there's your PCI expansion slots. So that tells me our motherboard will be down here along the side. And what do we have for motherboard standoffs?
Blackhawk makes a comment. He says, most tedious PC case 2017. And I think that's more because, you know, they screw everything down. It's all machined aluminum parts. And so it's more like a shipping thing. Once you get this thing pulled apart from its shipping configuration, then you can start working with the build configuration. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, and I'll also say I believe I'm the second person to work on this particular case. It has already been in someone else's hands to my understanding, so it's probably not packaged up as nicely as it first will come to you. So we'll give Streacom the benefit of the doubt on that. Now, here we go. All right, I got a cheat right off the start. So we've got our sides apart. The looks like this plate is going to come down more in the middle here, one way or another. And this is actually what's holding our motherboard. So here's our standoffs, and we'll go from there. I know reading is not the most riveting of material, Panel unlock. Off.
Hey, this stream could go on a lot longer if we don't read a little manual once in a while.
Yeah. Okay, so that'll hook on there, and then it screws in the sides here once we get to the point of locking that down. So I think we can go ahead and bring in the motherboard on this portion.
That's the motherboard tray, okay.
Yeah. So I believe, is this the motherboard that is LED lit?
So,
yes, it is RGB Fusion.
Blackhawk, to answer your question, MSRP on this, I believe, is $299.
Yeah, it's a very premium bit of hardware.
Let me see if I can find it in Amazon. And I will tweet, yeah, right. I'll message a link. I was tweeting earlier. I have that on the brain.
So
I'm not seeing it.
Put in our faceplate. Just sets in, doesn't really snap. They do have a wireless antenna, which looks like they're intending for it to come out the bottom here. Not really Gigabyte's intention, but should be the way it works. And that'll help us get the antennas out away from the aluminum chassis as well, which is going to deaden the signal, so that's probably for the best. And if you saw the Gigabyte bricks that I reviewed, it's, I think, the same wireless antenna.
Super bag crinkle noise.
Yep, the ASMR and whatnot. Okay, so we'll bring this down. This is going to be oriented this way, so
actually looks like 320 is what they're retailing for.
But what price can you put on silence?
Exactly.
If you've got a really rockin' media setup, save every decibel you can.
I get it. So the motherboard tray slides in vertically there, and all the I/O panel is out the bottom of the chassis.
Right.
Making for neat and tidy cable management. Not the easiest access, but with a home theater PC, you're likely not to mess with it much once it's plugged into the environment.
Right, and I think the whole thing will be light enough that it's not a big deal to pick up and adjust as needed.
Are you seeing any port or slot access on the top sides of the case, like maybe an SD card or a USB or something?
Nope. The USB ports are all bottom facing. They're down here in this corner.
Yeah.
And then your power switch is down in this corner underneath. So nothing really top facing.
Gotcha.
All right, those are not the right screws. They look like it though.
Yeah, that's right. The internal header cable is there, and then for the USB. So that's not bad though. Looks like the bottom corner. You could get at that easier without even lifting it up. Or maybe just lift it a little. Leave that corner facing outside of your media cabinet.
Mm-hmm. Just trying to see on these screws. They don't seem quite threaded right for the motherboard. Let's try a different corner. If not, I have some in a bin that I know will work.
So yeah, I'm not able to find this on Amazon, but we did find it at Newegg for $3.20. And Casper 1749 says shorten URLs work well, and I shortened it for him. You're welcome. Good point though. A little too long on the URL with that Newegg link. So if you're just tuning in, this is a fanless media PC build. That's Chris Getting of HotHardware.com. We are fairly new to the Twitch scene, but you can find us at HotHardware.com. You can also find us at YouTube.com/HotHardwareVids, Twitter.com/HotHardware, and Facebook.com HotHardware. So yeah, we are building with a Gigabyte Z270N Gaming 5 motherboard, as you can see Chris is working on there, and the motherboard tray. And this will be a completely fanless media PC based on Intel Kaby Lake technology. More manual reading, as is sometimes the need.
They seem to have a bit of an odd system to this.
What is your so far your scale of 1 to 10 degree of complexity?
This is definitely going to be more complex than your standard case. Probably not the most complex, because you're probably not going to have to be as concerned about cable management with this, because there's not really any active airflow. It should all be going to the outside of the case anyways, and you're not seeing in, so it doesn't need to be as pretty, but we'll try and keep it neat just because we like to. As far as assembly, there are a lot of bolts on this, and they're looking quite similar.
Gotcha.
And the passive heat assembly itself seems quite an adventure, and whoever had this before me left some things intact, other things not, mixed around, so I'm just trying to figure out what is what at the moment.
So Casper points out there are actually 3 flavors of this, supposedly. DB4 silver, DB4 black, and then B grade. I don't know what B grade is. Oh, B grade. Okay, never mind. Looks like, yeah, that's just a refurb and or open box SKU that's out there. So yeah, black and silver. You are working with the aluminum or silver version.
Yes, and I'll say if you know, going used on this may not be a bad deal if they give you all your parts. Because again, it's a chassis. There's not a lot to go wrong with it. It's very solid. You're not going to have broken pieces. So if you want to save on that, what was it, $329 price?
Yeah, I'm looking at the mechanicals of this thing set up, and pretty cool design, actually.
Okay, so these are going through the bottom. So it doesn't have a full back plate. It just kind of has some pegs that feed through. I'll go ahead and put our CPU in, which is the i3 7350K. Bit of a engineering sample.
Ah, yes. I've seen that chip before. That is the Intel Kaby Lake Core i3 7350K. It is unlocked. And yes, that's an Intel engineering sample that the good folks at Intel sent us a while back. Oh, look at it. So pretty nestled in the socket. Oh, nice.
Love that little pop-out action.
You did that without removing the protective plastic cover in the socket. That was impressive.
You're not supposed to. It just pops out at the last second.
No, I know, but I usually pull it off because I'm a hack.
Okay, so what I am concerned is the little bolts that come through the back of the motherboard. One of them has a rubber gasket and the other three do not. And I'm not seeing any replacement gaskets anywhere. So I'm gonna have to trust that it's gonna be okay. I might just pull this other one off so we're all even. Yeah, this one seems pretty well stuck. Not a big deal.
So for those that are just tuning in, this is Chris Getting of HotHardware.com, and he is building a fanless mini PC here. Chris is an IT admin by day, so this is like breaking sticks for him. But this is, you would say, Chris, a little bit more of an advanced PC build in terms of the mechanicals here.
Yep, it's definitely a bit different. So you got to think about how the whole thing assembles at once. It's not like you just, you have the fixed backplate for the motherboard and just stick it in. Where it is, you got to think about how it's oriented, how it's going to go, how your cables are going to flow kind of from the beginning. And then trying to visualize how the heat block is going to go in here. So it should be something like this. I think there's going to be more pieces that assemble here. And so, if we were just throwing in the motherboard with the fan, we'd pop it in there and it'd be done. But because of the way this cooling system is set up and there's just so many little parts to it, I want to make sure we get it right. So there's a copper shim that's going to sit here, and I'll clean this up. Left thermal paste on both sides. So that's going to sit on the CPU itself. And then on top of that, we're going to have this larger block go around it. And this is going to branch off to the outer edge and feed the heat out there.
Got it. And if I'm seeing things correctly, it does look like you have a single dual slot if you wanted to make this thing not fanless and add a discrete GPU. You can do that, right?
Yeah, there's certainly going to be room for a small GPU. You're probably not going to get a 2-fan monster in here, just because it's a little on the short side. Yeah, just looking over at my 970 there, I think the 970 would be a bit long for this case. But if you got a single fan, something like the EVGA 960 SC or something like that, you should be in business.
I wonder if you could get do you think you could get like a 1060 mini in there? You ever see the short mini versions?
Yeah. That's what the EVGA SC
the 9,
is.
The 960.
1060 is what I meant.
Yeah, so that would be nice. Now you get a media gaming PC. You'd eschew the fanlessness, but still, it's an option. And that motherboard does have 1 by 16 peg slot, as far as I can see.
Yes.
Cool.
All right, I think I'm going to have to pull from my stash to get the screws to put the motherboard in because they're not here.
Chris, your workspace there, I'm looking at what looks to be an anti-static mat. Is that?
Yep, that's anti-static.
Nice. I'll be traipsing off to Dell World on tomorrow, actually, and but when I get back, I'm going to be working on an interesting, probably a video review, I think, of the autonomous AI desk. And this is a studio desk that I'm going to be working with moving forward, which is going to be interesting. It's, you know, one of those sit-stand desks with automatic vertical adjustment up and down, and you know, different settings you can just dial in. But on that, when we work on PC builds, we will also find an anti-static mat like Chris has here, because static is your enemy.
It makes things much easier. You ground the mat and you're pretty okay.
Yeah. Don't work in your socks, right?
Right.
Your stocking feet. It's a bad idea.
I think there's definitely less risk than there used to be, but the risk is still there.
Yeah, you know, I'm trying to think in the 17 plus years we've been in existence at HotHardware, how many devices have fallen victim to static discharge and ESD, and I don't know, maybe I've had like one motherboard get a little, you know, something toasted, but not a lot, man. And processors especially, like, you got to try to mess them up when you're installing them.
Okay, so let's drop in our RAM here.
A little bit of EVGA, 8 gig DDR4, 2800 megahertz memory.
Yep, the Super SC.
Super duper. Look at that. It's a beautiful thing.
Clicks right in. No surprises.
No.
Right, then
That's what we like. No surprises.
Let's get this cleaned off. Do I have any alcohol?
Alcohol? Uh-oh. Wait a minute. I didn't bring any beer. I got coffee going right now. I know. You meant isopropyl, the kind that cleans. I get it. Chris, should I be moral support or should I, like, heckle you? He has disappeared from the set. Blackhawk, what career path were you thinking of? I noticed your comment. You have to bug your uncle about different career paths. That's, you know, don't quit your day job or something like that. Chris is back. Did you go in a packy run, or did you go to like to the medicine cabinet?
All right, got some alcohol and some cotton balls stolen from Brittany.
Aha. I was making booze jokes while you were gone.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't have enough of that.
Oh, all right. So you didn't have your headphones on and you weren't hearing me.
Nope.
I thought you were just ignoring me, which, you know, that's not uncommon.
Nope.
Hardware engineer, yes, that's a great idea. Electrical hardware engineer is a great career path. My son's actually on that training for it right now. He's a freshman in college. Electrical engineering is his track, and man, it's a lot of fun. He's having a blast right now. Of course, college is pretty much just fun and work.
But think of all the things he gets to build and create.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, just want to get these nice and clean so we can get the best dissipation from them.
Chris doesn't mess around, you know. We do things right around here.
Always.
cotton balls. You know, Brittany's probably going to be a little annoyed when she goes to, you know, do the old makeup remover thing, you know. The perils of living with a tech admin geek.
It's not the first time, won't be the last.
No. She uses probably a fair amount of that kind of stuff for tech purposes too. She's a little she's got some geek going on. Brittany, we're speaking of Brittany, Chris's wife, who also writes for HotHardware.com in the news and features section. Husband and wife dynamic duo.
And occasional reviews.
Yes, that's what I meant by features. Yeah.
Yes.
But it's a family affair here, as they say.
Okay, so that bit's done. Then it looks like these pieces, which don't appear to be messing around. Actually, these might be the motherboard screws that I was looking for here. So real tiny. We'll just set those aside. But I think these long spring-loaded ones are what's going to attach our heatsink down into the board. So let me just give these a test fit. And that does seem to be the case. So that should hold nice and tight once we get this in here. And can't find an objection to doing that now.
Any objections? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Okay, now what bolt am I looking for to keep the top of this in? I think the answer is these. Come on. Squish down, line up. I appreciate this being a thumb screw.
Yes, Chris is installing the motherboard tray now with Gigabyte Z270N Gaming 5 motherboard installed on the tray. And that goes in vertically. That's pretty cool.
Let's see. We'll see if that view's a little better. Thing over here. So I'm just going to leave this in kind of loose because I think it's going to have to screw in more for the side panel when we get there anyways. So just kind of test fit. So again, if you had a graphics card, which way do we want to view this?
Did you install the I/O bracket on the bottom?
Yeah, we've got the I/O board
already there. Yeah.
So that was one of the first things I did. So yeah, you could put a graphics card in here. Nothing too terribly long, but a single fan jobby or probably one of the passive ones. That reminds me, there are the passive 1050s now, right?
I think there are.
We may want to secure one of those.
I'd go with a 1060 shorty though. Oh, you want passive?
Fanless.
You want completely silent? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about that when we were planning this out.
Let's look at that. Let me see if I can conjure one of those up, and I'll link in the chat.
Okay, so up the top here is going to be our USB 3 header. And where's our front panel? Oh, front panel is nicely color coded on this board. But I think all we've got to worry about is the power LED and power switch. So that should be switch here. Upside down.
Interesting. I found one.
Yeah?
A 1050 Ti, no less.
Oh, that's not bad.
And by Paylett. And I'm going to drop it in the chat. I don't know. That it looks like it's definitely a dual slot for sure. It looks like maybe a triple slot, though. It might be too wide.
Let me take a look
I don't
at that. I think. Oh yeah,
I'm finding others now, though. Let's
the
see.
length up. Yeah, that.
This one looks. Go ahead.
You don't really have any extra length beyond the card to play with, so I think that's going to overextend by about an inch.
Mm.
We'll see what else you can dig up.
Yeah, there's Radeon RX 460 4 gig. Probably not quite as punchy as the 1050 Ti, but there's that. Passively cooled. And then what looks like GTX 750 Ti's.
Yeah,
that's about it.
That one might work. It's going to be tough. We'd have to break out the calipers, I think.
Yeah. This guy definitely would. Yeah, it's a 460. This guy definitely would. This is a 750. But
okay, so how is the bracketing on the rest of this going to work?
yeah, we'll let you focus here, man.
Okay, so that's heading towards the RAM, so they want it pointing up. That's fine. Oh, it does look like this. Oh yeah, we got free rotation on this, so we can orient it however we like. Of course, to fit the space. Warning, do not forget to use thermal paste, as this will result in poor heat transfer. Always remember your thermal paste.
Sound advice.
We've got some here, and I've got even more down here. Yeah, so I think we can go ahead and pop these sections on. So we're going to need this cut open. We'll need thermal paste on both sides.
I had you muted there for a moment. Hopefully you didn't ask me any questions.
I don't think so. Just announcing that we're going to be adding thermal paste in.
A little dab will do you.
Yep. Grain of rice.
1080 mini. I don't think a 1080 mini would work in that case, well, Blackhawk.
Yeah, we've got we have
crowbar the power supply for one thing.
Yeah. we have power constraints. 240 watts doesn't give you a whole lot.
Nope.
Okay, so I'm going to actually orient this sideways for the moment so we don't lose thermal paste anywhere. And I'm just going to put on a little glob. It's quite a tiny chip. You can just barely see in there.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll apply our copper shim. Give that a little press down. And figure out how to sneak this in. Go a little bigger blob on this since more to transfer. And we're just gonna unplug the USB 3.
Tight working in there, Chris?
A little bit. I've also got a bit larger than average hands.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we'll tuck this back over here. indeed tight. Okay, let's get squared around her shim. Let's bring so interesting conundrum. The bit the screw goes into has actually dropped down under.
I hate when that happens.
Okay, got it brought up.
So if you're just tuning in, this is Chris Getting of Hot Hardware here. I'm Dave Altavilla, and he is building a fanless home theater PC, media PC, based on the Streacom DB4 fanless PC case, and Gigabyte Z270N Gaming 5 motherboard, and Intel Kaby Lake Core i3-7350K processor. He has now installed the heatsink assembly, which uses the case as one big aluminum heatsink. It is completely fanless.
Working on it.
Working on it.
So I'm using a zip tie underneath just to keep the bottom bit pressed up, and I'm lightly fitting these until I get all four in.
So Blackhawk asks, when is Hot Hardware's B-Day? Anantech just turned 20 years. Interestingly enough, we started back in January of 1999, believe it or not. That's when the domain first hit the web, when it was basically just strings in a tin cup for internet back then. Yeah, so what is that, 2019, I guess, will be our 20-year anniversary. Is that about right? Am I doing my math right?
Sounds like math.
So yeah, that's crazy to think. Crazy to think we've been around for over 17 years. Chris and his wife Brittany joined our team. Almost 2 years ago now, year and a half.
Something.
And we haven't run you off since then. It's amazing.
Okay, then we've got hex at the top here, so we can lock this down.
That thing's kind of cool, man. I like that.
Yeah, it's it almost makes me wish that it had a side panel just to show off.
Right? Yeah, to look in. Well, they're fantastic milling and machining guys. Have them fab you a framed windowed side panel for that sucker.
Uh-huh.
They probably do that like breaking sticks.
Okay, so then let's see. So there's holes in the top here that will line up with these. It looks like these black bars are adjustable in position. Saying that, I could be wrong, but I think you can adjust them to where you need to line up with these slots. I also think it might be worth flipping them over and having a little more run room, because I don't think this is quite gonna scrunch up enough otherwise. So I'm gonna try inverting them. And I think typically when you assemble this, you would have these removed to begin with anyways, so they won't be in your way like they are for me.
Gotcha.
There's a couple parts to this. Do we have any giveaways upcoming? I know we just did the razor blade.
Yeah, good question. We just got through giving away a fantastic gaming notebook, the Razer Blade, at HotHardware.com. We do these giveaways almost monthly, and sometimes it's Sometimes it's great PC builds like the ones you're doing, and sometimes it's just products that brands contribute to give back to the community. And so don't have one active right now. The razor blade was pretty sweet. Let me see if I can pull up the specifics of that. We just awarded that to a lucky winner. And yeah, this was a razor blade. Let me look at the specs. I believe it is a 14-inch notebook. Yes, 14-inch notebook, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1060. Under the hood, Intel 7th Gen Core i7 7700 HQ quad-core Kaby-like processor, 16 gig of RAM, 256 gig SSD, killer wireless AC networking. Nick, this was a sponsorship from Razer and Killer Networking combined. Beautiful laptop. Let me drop this in the chat. And you can see we just gave one of these babies away, $1,800 value, $1,899, $1,900 value. We just gave one of those away, and we will be announcing a new giveaway probably within the next couple of weeks, I would guess. We usually try and do one once a month.
To answer your question, Casper, that, while technically repairable, that's going to be a monster of a fix. I have a lot of time with your soldering iron there. I think it's one of those, if you're asking, it's not fixable. Let's see.
One of those, huh?
Okay, well, I've got this side up. Invert these bars so I have a little more travel.
Gotcha. I am going to step away. I'll drop on mute here for a minute and let you whittle away at that baby.
All right.
I'll be back in 5. Looking good though, man. Getting there. Getting there.
Getting somewhere. Yeah, tedious is a good descriptor for this case. But since when was anything easy ever fun? Drop this side in, this back down. There we go. That's going to get me the extension I need. So we'll be all right. Okay, then did drop a little piece, so give me a moment to fish. It's a little lock washer, teeny tiny. Keep an eye out for it, because this is most likely going to end up reassembled anyways, because I'll have to tear it down multiple times for the review. So we will get it when we get it. So we'll bring this up. Lock this down.
I'm back. What are you doing now?
Okay, so I'm just figuring out how to assemble the upper side of this.
The heatsink for the CPU and how it mounts to the top of the chassis?
Yes.
Gotcha.
So just kind of show the heatsink mount.
Interesting that you've got what looks like just some brackets like that. Those pipes aren't really making a lot of contact with except for the brackets, right?
That's what I'm wondering. So I'm trying to see if I'm just missing a piece.
Gotcha.
Oh, I see what they're doing. So they've actually... Let me get this off of here. So I'm looking at this backwards. This is going to go under here.
Mm-hmm.
Sneaky.
Ah. See, yeah, that will allow the heat pipes to make contact with the top panel.
This is why we read instructions sometimes. Sometimes. Okay, so we'll bring that there. We'll try and line up with that. Pop this through here. This will still be there. Okay, so it's actually simpler than I thought it was.
There you go.
They are too good of engineers at Streacom, I think. Making me look like a fool.
That's all right.
Okay. So
You don't learn unless you make mistakes, man.
right.
Oh, and I see now where the top sides of the heat pipe assembly, you can add those aluminum slugs to it, right?
I believe so. So that's what I'm going to check next.
Yeah, looks like together they would span the length of that pipe assembly. Very cool. Maybe.
Well, it looks like maybe these can be separated, so you could swap them in on this. Because there are two here. They may... I mean, maybe they need to... I don't see how they could get on the side here. And they're not shown in the instructions at all, which, by the way, are excellent. Everything's very well detailed in Streacom's manuals. I haven't encountered any, with the translation errors or things you get in a lot of other systems. Okay. Yeah, I'm not actually seeing these in the instructions at all. There may be more to it. Again, when I get to the full review, I will, of course, sit down and detail everything. But for the basic build on this, it doesn't appear that they come into play. So these are going to sit here, and this is going to go flush on this. I'm going to guess we will thermal paste that, but that may not be necessary. So they're showing a thermal pad, which I think I did. I did see a thermal pad. Which is this. So this will unstick.
Makes sense.
Run us down here. That's going to give better coverage than thermal paste will. Okay, so we'll leave this side tacked on and just remove it when we go to put the side panel back on. Okay, then there are additional heat pipes. I gotta say, I'm not entirely sure what they're going for with these. It may be possible that there's a way to rig up a GPU with them. I'm not sure. I'm gonna guess they have something to do with this.
If you're just tuning in, this is a live fanless media PC build. Chris Getting from HotHardware is your host there. I'm Dave Altavilla, and you can see Chris's workbench here with this Streacom DB4 fanless PC case. He's got a Gigabyte Z270N Gaming 5 motherboard in there, and he has mounted the CPU heatsink assembly. And we're almost, I mean, we're getting there, right?
And I have lost my face cam. Give me just a second.
The face cam has gone offline. We'll fix that. Chris is thumping around back there.
Yeah, I lost my
That's
camera.
all right. That's all right, folks. You can see the specs of the build here. Intel Core i3-7350K, 8 gig of EVGA DDR4, 2800 megahertz memory, and a 512 gig Toshiba RD400 SSD. That's NVMe, and Intel Kaby Lake 7th generation platform does support NVMe natively, so that's great. We're going to pop that little stick in there eventually. And it should be real fast from a storage standpoint.
My face is back.
Oh, good. There he is, handsome fellow.
Okay. So now we need to mount in our SSD. That's occurring to me. Was this? Where have I set it?
The Intel Core i3-7350K is a dual core with hyperthreading, so 4 logical threads processing at 4.2 gigahertz base frequency, believe it or not.
There's one bit we didn't account on.
Uh-oh, what's that?
So this is an M.2 drive.
Yes.
And this does not appear to be an M.2 supported motherboard.
Oh no, there's no M2 slot on it?
I mean, there is for Wi-Fi, but that's not going to be the right type. So
nope.
It's all right. We have an Intel 520 SSD that I can swap in instead.
Interesting.
Always good to have multiple drives.
Well, you could.
Get a PCI card.
Yeah, you could, which would consume that one slot available for the GPU, but I think SATA is probably just fine.
Right. Okay, so so these are made to just sit in this way and attach with 2 screws and call it a day.
Are you going to boot this thing up, Chris?
We will.
Really? So you've preloaded that SATA drive with an OS and everything?
I don't know if this one is preloaded with an OS.
Okay.
So there's holes here, so it can also take a 3.5-inch drive if that's what you want to run, and it'll fit 4 drives, even more if you got more of these brackets, I'd imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be your choice. You could even steal a bracket from the top here. I doubt the top needs 2 of those, so you could easily get quite a few drives mounted in here, which is really nice for, of course, media storage. The only thing you'll run into is the number of SATA ports on your motherboard. In our case, we've got 4, it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and run that SATA cable now. Is M.2 on the rear? Oh, yeah. I think you are right. There is M.2 on the rear. Good catch.
Ah, sweet.
So when I rebuild this, I will rebuild it with the Toshiba drive. But for now, I am not disassembling all this that I just assembled.
Can't blame you.
So
there's M2 on the
yeah,
oh.
Let's see if I can get the camera in here. So you're looking just barely in that gap. And
yeah,
that's tough. It's barely visible there. And just kind of sits loose, and there is a screw hold down on the back.
Sweet.
So,
so you'd have to pull the motherboard. Okay, it's on the underneath the.
Yeah, it's literally underneath the motherboard, which is very interesting, very, very clever.
Yeah, that's good. Good to know.
Okay, so do we want to run straight or 90 out of this? We're going to have to go straight on that side, but I think 90 will keep it a little nicer here. Run this around, and those are all facing the same way. So as long as the GPU is not there, we can run this fairly low profile in the back. And they do provide a few zip ties which have quick release.
Mm-hmm.
So you can manage this a little bit. So set that there so it's not flapping around. And I think with that, there's you see the thumb screw back here that I've got to
Yep.
figure out. I think I'm just going to undo this. Building live is fun.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
You get to see all your mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Live and in action.
With half your brain devoted to entertainment.
That's it. I'd have a real problem. I'm totally right-brained or left-brained or whatever.
Whatever brain gives you the best excuse.
Exactly. So if you're just tuning in, we're almost done with this fanless media PC build. Streacom DB1 fanless chassis, all aluminum, machined aluminum chassis. Chris Getting of Hot Hardware is doing the building right in front of you. And it's based on an Intel Core i3-7350K dual-core processor with hyper-threading and lots of other goodness. Gigabyte Z270N Gaming 5 motherboard, which we figured out has an NVMe stick, NVMe socket on the bottom side of the board to accommodate an NVMe SSD. But we've got an Intel SATA SSD in there for now. And Chris has got the heatsink mounted. And other stuff.
Yep, so I'm just kind of locking down the position of the plate that'll go to the chassis.
You know, this actually, it's tight to work in, but the nice thing is the way all the sides pull off on all four sides, you can...
It's accessible.
You can get at everything. That's yeah, kind of cool.
Okay, that should be good.
Blackhawk asks RX 580 or GTX 1060.
Probably right now.
Not for this build. You meant just in general.
Not for this build, but in general, I think the 580 has a slight edge right now, just because the 480 and the 1060 were neck and neck. But I think it's still a case of whichever you can find for the better price. The 580 is going to let you crossfire them in the future. The 1060, remember, does not have the SLI fingers. But that's also a question of how good crossfire scaling is in a particular game.
I will drop this link into the chat. This is a link to our AMD Radeon RX 580 review, RX 580 and 570. One of the benchmark pages at HotHardware.com, and you can see, yes, as Chris says, as I agree, the 580 and the 1060 trade wins when you're talking standard DX11 titles, even up to like 1440p. The 1060 trails just by a hair when you... But I mean, sometimes even trading blows there. And then when you clip to like a DX12 title, Tom Clancy's, easy for me to say, Clam Shack. No, the Division DX12 title. Here, the RX 580 has a little bit more sizable edge. Like 5%, maybe up to 10% there. So, yeah. Let's look at Rise of the Tomb Raider on page 6. RX 580 versus 1060. Again, RX 580 on top at higher resolution 1440. When you drop to 1080, the 1060 takes the lead by a hair. So yeah, pretty neck and neck. And Chris is dead nuts right on. If you can find a better deal on either one of them, that's the one to go for.
It's nice that we can say that. It's a really good place for the industry. Now, if we can say the same thing when we get looking at 1070s, 1080s, it'll be even better.
Yeah, we're waiting for AMD's Radeon Vega to launch, and we will be on NDA with that for sure, so we can't say too much about it, but it'll be interesting to see how that maps in from a performance standpoint versus the current NVIDIA flagships.
What?
He is mounting the power supply now.
Maybe. I'm trying to figure out how I'm supposed to get this through to mount backwards on it. This has got to come off.
Yes. Blackhawk says specs have rumored to leak for Vega. I will link that in there as well. AMD Radeon RX Vegas specs leak highlight 4096 stream processors, 8 gig of HBM2 memory, and 12 T-flops of performance. If you do the math, the number of stream processors here, 4096, makes it roughly 2x the number of stream processors versus an RX 580. Now, you can't assume that it's twice the performance of an RX 580 because you don't know the architecture, right? It's different architecture. You also have HBM2, which gives you significantly more memory bandwidth. So there's a lot of variables in the mix there. But yeah, we do have an article on the spec leak. It's out there. It's been public for a while. And that's not to say it's gospel. Those could be, that's just, spec and spec leak rumors. So
yep.
Take it with a grain of salt.
GPUs are very tough to pin down until they're tested. It's just
Amen.
So many factors.
Yep. And but we will absolutely have performance results when that thing launches in the not so distant future. We can at least say, because AMD has confirmed this quarter, which means sometime between this month and next. And that's all I can say is about that.
All right, back to trying to do things without looking at the manual. So I'm probably doing it wrong. Gotta get these screws underneath here and just give them a light thread. I guess I'm just about off frame, but I'm just trying to get these fed up through.
Nice.
There we go. There's one side.
Completely fanless PC build here. Silent, dead silent.
Hopefully we haven't just doomed it to a case of coil wine with that.
Yeah, you got to remember the coil wine. Jeez. Nah, I don't think. Let's see. Kaby Lake has that had coil wine issues?
I can't imagine. It's more of a GPU thing.
Yeah, except, well, no. Actually, now that I think of it, there's been a few laptops that have had coil wine issues. But they do have discrete GPUs, so yeah, I think it is more of a GPU thing. You're right.
All right, I'm gonna concede again.
And read the manual.
Yeah. So
Our TFM Barber.
I've got this 180'd and locked down. feed it out the top. I think I'll be okay. Okay, backtracking. If you're looking for a first-time case, this is probably not the place to start. All that just for a 180 twist.
Wow. That's some serious gymnastics going on there.
Let's bring it back on this side. There. So they want this to hold on with 2 screws on the black bracket here. And I think if we put it in just like this, we'll have enough to hold on.
So I'm sorry. What are you installing now?
The power supply. They want it on just like this and mounted with 2 screws. So I've got one in place. Now adding in the other screw. So this is actually going to be eating up some of that hard drive space. You can slide and position these as you want, so I think you could probably still get 3 in here, maybe 4 if you're really creative. But it is definitely eating up some of our hard drive room. So we'll leave that there, and we'll come back and we'll reaffix this yet again.
So this is a 240 watt fanless PSU?
Yes, 240 watts. It's their Zero Flex Z240 PSU from Streacom. Oh yeah, international part buying. I do not envy. All the taxes and
tariffs.
Yep. I'm very glad to be in the good old US from that perspective. And a lot because the US is awesome, but you know. Okay, so we've got the PSU all together. Gotta detangle our cables. Sorry, I had to bring that off to the edge just to get underneath it easily enough. Alright, so we can detangle that. Bring these around. We'll need a SATA connector for our drive. Put the 24 pin in, and probably it looks like a 4 pin for the CPU. It's looking for an 8 pin, but I guess it's going to have to make do with 4. It's just going to probably limit our overclocking potential, which we're not going to get much out of this anyways.
Yeah, I think fanless home theater PC and overclocking are kind of, I don't want to say mutually exclusive, but it's kind of an oxymoron. Yeah, kind of an oxymoron.
So Streacom says that this case can dissipate about 65 watts, if I remember right. So you're not going to be putting in something like a 7700K anyways. Not if you hope to have it cooled. And I just realized I ran this down the wrong side, so let's sneak this under here and up over here. So can we tuck this to make it a little nicer? Alright. We can bring our SATA cable back around. We need to reconnect our front panel. There we are. And SATA power. We'll run this one because there's less on it. And if this were going to display, I'd make it look a lot nicer. But it's all going to be hidden behind solid aluminum.
You can always come back and zip tie later.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's all the components we need inside. So we can start reassembling the outer shell.
Buttoning her back up.
Mm-hmm. And we'll pull this off when we get to it, the strip on the thermal adhesive, but we'll leave that side for last if we can.
Chris is in the final assembly steps of the Streacom DB4 fanless media PC case, where he has built an Intel Kaby Lake based media PC inside of it.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say a smart person would have tested the system at this point.
But we like flying blind. Why not?
Right. Okay, so I'm peeling off the other side of this thermal pad. And it's proven to be stickier than the side stuck to the copper block. So a little more finesse on that.
This is Chris Getting of HotHardware.com assembling a fanless media PC. And yeah, look at that little thermal pad. And now the last aluminum side plate. Actually, you get the top to go on too.
Yep, it's just this all has to fit in at once at the end. It's a little bit interlocked. Okay, with a little finagling, we have all 4 sides solidly on. So there's just 2 thumb screws on each side, and these 2, because it's interlocked, serve to keep the entire thing in place. The other 2 here are just being used for the motherboard support. So they're not keeping the side panel on at all. And then we'll drop in the top. And just tuck down a couple cables. This will tighten real quick. So this is going to be bigger than your average MITX case, at least in the Z-axis.
Yeah, but it looks mighty nice and minimalistic, and you could see that easily residing in your home theater PC area in your living room and blending in nicely with the scenery, not being gaudy.
And I am missing one screw that fell into the no man's space next to my desk, so I'll have to pull that out later. But otherwise, this should be good to power on. So I'm going to shut down my other PC real quick.
Where is the power button on that sucker?
It is underneath one of these corners. I had a bit ago. Yep. Okay, so it's in this back corner. Yep, there it is. So underneath, right there. So we'll connect everything in and see if she runs. So give me just a moment to rearrange my setup a little. Okay, so we'll run we'll do found the lock washer I was missing. So I'm going to run just into the monitor I have here because it needs DisplayPort or HDMI for this board. And actually I can run DisplayPort on that, but it's alright. So we'll connect this here. I have my keyboard and mouse routed through the monitor. So I just need a single USB 3. And there is the Wi-Fi antenna.
And that board obviously has RJ45 gigabit Ethernet.
Yes, it does.
Port out the bottom too. Cool. Although these days, 802.11ac gets you 4K streaming, no problem.
Yep.
If you have a good connection. and Kaby Lake with Netflix, and the Edge browser gives you native 4K support.
Yep. And actually, if I grab the DisplayPort instead of the HDMI, actually, I don't want to mess up the stream if I do that. We'll run it 4K 30 for the moment, and I'll test it again at 4K 60 later. Because I believe our monitor is only HDMI 1.2.
Minutes away from firing it up, right?
Power cord hanging out here. All right. A couple cables to not install. And where's our power? Up here. So the LED is on, which it actually projects down onto the bottom foot.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, pretty neat. I don't know if you can see that. I can't see what I'm showing you right now. But that is on, and we do not have a OS installed. I'm trying to think if I have Windows 10 on a disk or on a thumb drive. I'm not sure if I do, so we may actually need to cut this here, but I'll bring my microphone in. If you hear anything, you're lying. There's no sound at all going on. The LED light is the only indication, and the screen that tells me I need to reboot and select a proper boot device.
There you go.
So, let me, it's a little disappointing that I don't have a drive ready to go. But I'll switch back over and take any questions anybody has. Dave, you can get started with that if you want.
Sure, I'm looking down the list. I'm not seeing, let's see. I'm not seeing too many questions left at this point. Can you CNC the side panels for the case?
You mean, like, do they have the plans available to do it yourself?
Yeah, I think that's his question. Blackhawk, yeah.
Trying to think. I know the BC1 open bench table, you are free to CNC yourself however you wish. I am not sure if that holds true for this, but I would imagine that's going to be very, very complicated to do, though, because of these long runs here. I don't quite know enough about CNCing to know how feasible that is. If we unplug that, is that going to give me my screen back?
Sorry about my keyboard banging away here.
Clickety clack.
Are you attempting to what are you doing there?
Trying to get my display back on the streaming computer.
Oh yes, okay, right.
Almost done.
So it boots, but we don't have an OS loaded on it yet. You'd need to install a Windows 10 USB stick and let it do its thing.
Yep. And
Let me ask, the USB ports are on the underside of that thing. Can you fashion, insert a USB stick and have room enough underneath it? Or do you have to flip it on its end?
So you'd probably have to flip it up for a USB stick because again, you're only getting 2 inches, and like my multi-tool here is about the size of a regular USB stick, and it's not gonna fit under. If you had one of the little stubby ones, it'd work no problem. Otherwise, like a USB extension cable would.
Yeah, there you go.
Do what you need.
That would probably be the way to go. A little extension cable and leave it hanging out there.
Right. So I don't know what I've done to this poor display, but it's all blacked out on me now. It's not responding to power or anything. Okay, so okay.
So this is where are you at?
Oh, I have my display back. So yeah, we're not going to be able to go any further with the build, just because we have nothing installed.
Why don't you hold that bad boy up? Can you spin it around for the camera and show folks? I don't know.
Yeah. So let's just disconnect the power here. So again, the weight is hefty, but not obviously impossible to pick up. And so under here we've got our full motherboard panel right in the middle. Some USB 3s for you. That is a Kensington lock at the top. There's the power button right in the center of frame. The power at the bottom.
Yeah.
And these are good strong legs as well. They seem to be right solid on it. And do you want a final tour of the inside?
If you want, it's up to you. I think you have to unbutton it, right?
Yeah, just a couple of bolts here. And again, this is all fanless, so completely passive.
This is the Streacom DB4 fanless PC case, media PC case, a machined aluminum chassis that acts as a heatsink, complete heatsink for the processor. It actually is integrated into the cooling design. The heat pipes actually come in contact with it. So,
yep. With channels on the side, so air, cool air will come into the bottom and it'll flow up the channels just through natural dissipation. And so up in top, we've got our motherboard dead center, our power supply back here, which is of course also fanless. We have a SSD here, Intel 520. Yep, 520. And if you can quite see in here, this is the plate for the CPU on the Intel i3-7350K. So we'll have to see if we can get any overclocking out of this or not. But otherwise, yeah, that's about all there is to it. It is very complicated to do for the first time, but I think now that I've got the hang of it, it shouldn't be so bad. It's just kind of learning the quirks, which was kind of the same thing with the Streacom BC1. There's just obviously a lot less to that since you just need to put the board on and you're done. So very well engineered, very, very solidly built. Very impressive from that side. So we'll just have to see how it performs now. So stay tuned to HotHardware.com. We'll have the review up in a few weeks. And anything else to say?
No, thanks for joining us, everybody. Chris, good job. Way to stick it out there and power through that complexity of the build. Definitely a little bit more advanced build, but looks good, and we're excited to see what the results are.
Yep.
Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in. And stop by HotHardware.com, and we will have more details in the days ahead with the Streacom DB4.
Take care.